So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session. You are here for the Using Just2easy to Support Literacy in Key Stage 2. So my name's Nikki Kimball. I'm one of the educational consultants here at Just2easy. So let's have a little bit of session housekeeping before we start. I have planned roughly a 60-minute session. I might be done before then. Who knows? Questions can be asked via the chat. I'm not entirely sure whether it's working or not. So if I don't answer any questions that you've popped in the chat, it may well be because it's not working. So hopefully it is working. So you can pop them in the chat and I will try and answer them as the session goes along. I'll also do a Q&A session at the end of the training as well. This session is being recorded and it will be hosted on our YouTube channel within the webinars playlist, and that's the webinars 24-25 playlist. It comes right at the top of the page. Now, in terms of what we're going to cover in today's session, we're going to have a quick discussion about why we should use digital tools to support literacy skills. And then we're going to investigate which J2E tools we can use to support literacy in your Key Stage 2 classroom. So I'm going to do a big showcase and show you some activities, hopefully, that you can start using straight away. And I'm really going to focus on the resource library, where we've got some fantastic pre-made resources. That will be towards the end of the session. And I'm going to focus on some of the content creation tools. So we'll look at Jit Paint, which I know isn't necessarily a literacy tool, but it's great for creating illustrations that can then be used in books and that kind of thing. I'll show you how to use Jit Mix, J2 Create, and J2 PDF as well, so making your own interactive worksheets. And then, as I promised, a Q&A session at the end. Doesn't look like a lot to get through, but it's quite a lot. So just a little introduction about accessing Just2easy. So it is a cloud-based learning platform and it can be accessed via any device anywhere. So some of you will be joining us from various areas in the world and maybe joining us from a managed service. So you can go to j2e.com. That is our internal website. That is where you can access the learning platform. If you're a manual school, you will have a school name, username and password to log in. But it may well be that the majority of you are joining us from places like Northern Ireland and Scotland and Wales. So there are buttons here. You can see the EA button, that is for my C2K colleagues out there. So you can click that and use your C2K credentials to log in. Same with the Hub button. So my Welsh colleagues out there can use the Hub button, and the Scottish colleagues out there, you can use that Glow button there. And we've got LGFL and BGFL, just in case anybody's joining us from those areas. Alternatively, we are accessible via My School for C2K colleagues. You can find us in the online learning tab. Hub and Glow, we are within your Launchpad. So just look for the J2E icon within those managed services. That is the same for both you and your students as well. They can use their managed service credentials to log in. Now, having a think about literacy in the digital age, these are a couple of research papers I looked at when I was planning out this session, just to give some context to why we should use digital devices to support literacy. And I thought these were quite interesting quotes. So we've got modern day literacy is evolving beyond printed texts towards multiple literacy that involves students' use of various media resources in their interactive form, which also includes a target audience outside of the classroom. So there is this move away from, just writing in books or just using books for research, and certainly much more towards using things like the internet, using AI, writing for an audience, so being able to publish content for that wide audience. And I think that's a really key concept there, which we'll talk about in a second. Then for students to be literate nowadays, they should be able to read hypertext, use multimedia components and the internet effectively for accessing information and structuring meaning, join various online communities and use various media resources outside of the classroom. So I think you'll recognise a lot of those activities that your students are likely already engaging with. So we certainly need to be doing it in a classroom just to, provide them with the correct means, being able to challenge information that they read online, being able to gain knowledge and understanding from various different media components, so things like videos, written text, audio, podcasts. There's lots and lots of ways for children to gain knowledge and become more literate. So these are quite interesting. I do have links to them if anybody is desperate to read them in all that spare time you must have as a teacher. So just to summarise why we should use digital tools to develop writing. So digital tools can provide an individualised learning environment with personalised levels of support and scaffolding. So within the Just 2 Easy context, you can do things like adding word lists for children that need it and sharing it just for those children. You can create your own teaching groups where you can differentiate pieces of work with varying levels of support and scaffolding. So that's really important. Digital tools, they allow the incorporation of a range of different modalities, so audio, visual, for example, and for children to be able to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding using those modalities as well. I really like this. Students write best when writing for a purpose or an authentic audience. So this is a big motivator for a lot of children. So if you imagine your written work that you do traditionally, using traditional methods in class, generally it is just you and that student that will read that particular piece of work. Maybe parents or carers during parents' evening, possibly, if they just happen to read it. Now, digital tools allow us to publish content online. You can do that within Just 2 Easy as well. We offer both J2 Webby and our brand new tool, the J2 Journal, which allows parents to be able to read best pieces of work that have been published, either of those. So that's a really nice way of providing that authentic audience for the students, and can be, as I said, quite motivating. The use of technology helps to reduce inequalities and promotes inclusion. So this links back into this point here where we can offer these personalised levels of support and scaffolding, but it doesn't highlight the children as being any different. So if a child has a word list that's been shared with them and none of the other class has, it's very discreet and it doesn't highlight them as being, different or needing that extra level of support. And it can level the playing field for the students. And then lastly, technology integration can influence writing and literacy pedagogy to become more student-centred. Focus moves away from the teacher and promotes independence. So things like our text-to-speech, speech-to-text, word lists, all of these accessibility settings can help the students become more independent, especially in the sort of do, review, edit process. They can, read back their work with that extra support of text-to-speech, and not needing the support assistant or the teacher to help them with that. So that's kind of why we're promoting digital tools to be used for literacy in general. And then I just thought I'd highlight the curriculum statements. Now, Northern Ireland and Wales, you're quite progressive in a nice, very nice way. So it actually features in your writing curriculum. So you can see here participation in modelled, shared, guided and independent writing, including composing on screen. So it is specified that you should be using on-screen methods as well. Planning, revising and redrafting to improve writing, including those which they can compose digitally. And this one, create, organise, refine and present ideas using traditional and digital means. Okay, so that is written into the writing aspect of your English curriculum. Wales as well, you can see I can present my work appropriately in digital context, so that is beginning to form letters correctly, and reflect, edit and redraft to improve quality. Okay. Scotland, we are focusing on the writing aspect again, so tools for writing, consider the impact and layout and presentation, so that focuses on the digital. Now England, trailing quite massively behind. We don't actually have a curriculum statement in the English curriculum, sadly. It is simply the computing curriculum, and this is where any of the content creation that we're going to be doing would fit. So select to use and combine a variety of software for a range of digital devices to design and create a range of programs, blah blah blah. That is where all of this content is going to sit today. Right, enough of the context. Just a little reminder, if this is the first time that you've been on one of my webinars, all of our webinars are recorded and freely available using our Just 2 Easy TV YouTube channel. So I will just showcase this to you. I do have a link off my Launchpad. And here you can see we've got a variety of different, we've got 204 videos. It's growing. I think I publish about 2 or 3 a week, if not more. So you can subscribe to that if you want to. But that is where all of our webinars will be. So you can see we did literacy in early years and Key Stage 1 last night, numeracy last week, focus look at Jit, just2easy teach tools. We've also got live lesson recordings. Now I did a live lesson this morning around shape poetry for Key Stage 2 students, so that is in there. These are a slightly different concept in that I will teach your class for you. I did have a few technical difficulties, so it's not one of my finest, but it's in there. So there are lots and lots of different activities for different year groups using different tools. So things like All About Me. And if you click on any of these, I'm not going to play it. So there you go. In the description, it will outline exactly what the session will contain or include, and it's also got a year group that it's focused on. So this one in particular is focused on year 3 and 4, or P4 and 5 in Northern Ireland, Scotland. So you'll have an idea of what's included. So please have a look at those. And then lastly, we've got our tips and tricks. So these are sort of 2-minute videos that can show you various aspects. So things like adding your own spelling list, which we're going to look at in a second, changing your sight language and that kind of thing. So those are all in there. That is Just2easy TV. Please feel free to have a look. Subscribe if you want to. If you subscribe, you will get notifications when new videos come up. Okay. Right, I am going to show this very quickly because I've got a huge amount of content, as always. Got to stop over planning. So J2 Blast is our games-based learning tool, and you can set your own spelling lists. Okay, so let's have a look very quickly. As I said, there is a video on how to do this on our YouTube channel, because I'm going to go through this quickly, but it's a 2-minute video, so if you need a reference, that's there. So the Blast games, we've got various. We've got Times Table Blast, or TT Blast, and Sats Blast. So these are maths general skills, so your arithmetic and number bonds and fractions and that kind of thing. And then we've got Spell Blast. And hopefully we will have Spag Blast soon, which I'm being promised and promised and promised. It's 95% done, just needs a little review. So that is coming. Keep an eye out for that. And that will work in the same way as this. Now the children can go live. So this matches them against 3 other students around the world. They can't communicate, so it's completely e-safe. And that tracks their progress and gives them incrementally more difficult spellings. So they start on level 1. As they spell them more consistently correctly, it will move them up the levels quite quickly. And they do get points when they play either the Go Live or the Have a practice area. And you'll get a class leaderboard. Clearly none of my students are playing at the moment. School leaderboard and a world leaderboard. And you can see some of these points are quite phenomenal, really. I've played this week and I got 19 points, whereas some of these students have got, 400,000. That is place over all time, but that is phenomenal. And it's not an English student either. So the other thing that we can do is we can create our own spelling lists. So to do that, you can go to the ABC button and you can click plus. And I'm going to be very, very CVVC words. I mean, it doesn't help when you don't spell it properly. 19th of November, for example. So you can call the spelling list whatever you want. And then you can add your spelling lists in here. So I'm going to put book, look, shook, took, rook. There we go. Okay. You can copy and paste spelling lists in there. I'm sure you've already got a spelling scheme somewhere on your hard drive or your OneDrive or somewhere. So you can copy and paste into here. And then you click OK. Now it will by default use generated speech. So that is your robotic voice. But you can record your own audio, which is particularly useful if you are, or if you have, a strong regional dialect. That the children may be attuned to listening for. So you can record these, okay? So to record, you just click record, book, stop, and then OK. If you are going to use recorded audio, you do need to use this arrow here and then click recorded audio for each word within that word list. But it is worth that little bit of extra effort. Look, and there we go. So then when you get to the end of the list, you click OK. And that creates a spelling list. So there we go. So I am just going to play this, and I'm getting quite bad at this. I normally log in and I keep forgetting. So let's log in as my student. Here she is. This is Lottie. She's in my class. Now it does help if you share it. So I've created this in my teacher account. So I'm back in my teacher account. For my students to access it, I need to click on this little orange person outline here, and you'll get your share box. So we can use this drop down menu, and I can share that with my class. You have access to teaching classes, individual users, and all classes in school. Okay, so I'm going to click that, and my students now have access to that. So I am going to go to Blast, which is here. My student clicks on Spell Blast. She goes to have a practice, and she goes to the shared area, and there is that CVVC spelling list. So that is book. So I will spell this quickly. I'm going to spell it incorrectly to give you an idea. So it gives you a visual prompt. You can use your keyboard, or you can use this keypad up here. And there we go. That is the end of my spelling list. And your students, this will save as a teacher, but the children can also save this. So a copy of this goes into their My Files. So there you go. So anything a student saves into their My Files area. So you as a teacher, you can always access that through the Pupil Files area. So if I just refresh my page, I go back into Spell Blast and I open up that spelling list, you can see I've got this little graph here. So I can click on that, shows me Lottie's had a go. She's got 100% accuracy and she's needed a visual prompt on that shook word. So I might need to reflect back on that. The more students that play this, you will end up with a word cloud. The bigger the word, the more children have misspelt it. So it gives you a really quick and easy idea of maybe which words the whole class is struggling with and that you need to reflect on as a teacher. So that is setting our own spelling list in Spell Blast. Okay, so great for the beginnings of, being able to spell things correctly. Obviously, it's a huge element of writing. So there we go. And you can track progress, and that is in the admin area within Blast. Right, I'm only going to do this quickly because it is a bit of a tenuous link, but one that I quite like. Paint often gets discounted as quite more of an infant tool, but I think it's really nice for creating things like illustrations to then be used in books or presentations. So I've got two examples here. So the children are creating their own retell of the story Up, and this one is just looking at using words, so creating a witch's potion and adding text onto that and imagery. So nice sort of link in with your literacy and spellings. It's part of our Jit toolkit, which is here. So it's just2easy infant toolkit. I wouldn't discount it for the older ones. It does automatically open up in Write. So it's 8 tools within the same toolkit. So we're going to look at Paint quickly, and then we're going to go to Mix. Okay, so Paint is here. You can add lots of different templates. There's some colouring in as well, which is nice actually for your mouse skills, because you can use the fill tool and click, and it's good practice for the students. Got some Christmas ones. If you need to start making Christmas cards, we are running a Christmas card competition, everyone. So bear that in mind. But for my older ones, I would probably start thinking about adding my own pictures. So the students can add in pictures into their My Files, and they can access them here. They can take a photo, so that is the camera. Here we go, I'll just zoom in. The camera icon there, so they can take photographs straight into Paint and then paint over the top. So great for things like Hook for Writing, or if they're creating, combined, maybe they're doing a school prospectus, maybe as part of their writing project, or they're having aliens that are visiting school, or dinosaurs, whatever your topic wants to be. And then we've also got this globe button here. So that is going to offer you a Google image search. So for example, I'm going to stick with that up the theme that we're looking at. So I'm going to add this as a background. There we go. And then I can draw over the top if I wanted to. I've got my fill tool, my paint tool, and I've got my clip art here. Now I've got lots of clip art libraries. I've got text and speech bubbles, so great if you're creating things like comics. And then I've also got the web search. So let's look for a house. That should be clip art. I don't know why it's not. That should have a transparent background. Gotta love a live demo. Well, this is slightly broken. Okay, so we'll use this. We'll imagine it has a transparent background. There we go. So I'm going to stamp that on, and then I'm going to do the same for balloons. And let's hope that something comes up with balloons this time. Oh, I've completely broken it now. There we go, balloons. And that should have a white background, a transparent background. Let's try this one. This is not working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend it has worked, and I'm going to export it. So if you want to use any images that you've created in Jit Paint in other tools, this is the key. You need to press this button up here. Okay, this is the Save as Image button. So I'm going to click that. It'll do a nice little saving circle, and that is going to save into the My File. So that can be used in things like Jit Mix and J2 Create. So a great way of the kids creating their own illustrations for their books or for their writing. Clearly there's a bit of an issue with Jit. There we go. And then I can click this, and that allows me to come back to this picture should I wish to edit it any further. So those are just examples. That's what it should have looked like. I'm not quite sure what was going on today, but there we go. Another example, I'm not going to go into this, but these are images that I've created in Jit Paint, okay, and I've added in speech bubbles there. So I've got my comic book theme. This is a child that they've taken a photo and they've removed the background and added themselves onto a paint background. So you can see there, it's not just an infant tool, it can be used quite a high level. And then that is imported into a J2 Create comic template, which is in the library. So that's just an example of what you could use. Right, let's look at some Jit Mix suggestions. Okay, so Jit Mix is a tool that often gets overlooked, I think, because it's not overly obvious sometimes what it does. It is an ebook creator. It allows you to choose different page layouts and to use different Jit tools within those page layouts. That will make more sense in a second when I show you. You can add content depending on the tool used. You can add additional pages. We've just added a new feature where you can record audio onto each page, whereas previously it was just onto one file, which was a little bit irritating. So now the children can record associated audio for each page, which is really handy. So Jit Mix is up here. It's the sort of grey tab. And this is what I mean. There's 4 different page layouts. Okay, so they choose, first of all, they choose a page layout. Okay, so I'm going to choose this one as the front page for my book. And then they think about which tool within Jit they want to use. So for example, if I wanted a paint page, it's automatic. It's that blue page. If I wanted an animate, okay, I would use these arrows until I get to the pink page. If I wanted a chart page, maybe I'm sort of, collating some chart data and adding some text underneath, you can have a chart page. So I'm going to stick with my paint page. There we go. And you can draw straight onto this. So we can add some balloons. I'm not going to try and add a house because clearly that failed massively. But we could add in some sky. Let's fill that in and fill that in. I could draw a house. So I've got my fill tool and let's draw. There we go. Nice house there. And then I can write in this box underneath here. So I could say up by Miss Kimball. There we go. Okay, you've got your text sizes, fonts that we can click. Don't know why it's not. There we go. And change the color. You've got your word lists as well. So this all has text to speech built in, which is really handy. So the children can listen to these words. There we go. And if they want, they can add that onto their page. And they can add multiple pages. So this time I might choose an animation page. Okay, now I can tell you now I don't have any animations of up pre-prepared. I do have a Titanic one though. So at the top of your page, they don't just have to, add a page. So this is an animate page. You can animate straight onto this page, or at the top of this page, that is where the little asterisks will load the backgrounds page that you would normally get in Jit tools. But this button here allows you to load files that you've made in the standalone tool. So these are all the animate files that I've created. There is a Titanic one, Christmas, I've got various different animations. So you've also got the option to add in pupil files. So this is a nice way of collating pieces of work. So maybe each student has created their own writing and you want a class book that demonstrates everybody's writing. You can create these as a teacher. So, it could be that you've got 30 pieces of snowy day writing that you want to then publish to the journal. So you can do that as well. Now I'm going to add in my Titanic just to show it off because it's so good. And there we go. So I can play that. Again, why is that stopped? There we go. And this was something we did in a live lesson. So it's there if you want it. We created that animation and then create a presentation. So we could then write underneath, either you could write a story that goes alongside that animation, or you could write an explanation. You could maybe have, I don't know, animated a scientific process like the water cycle, and then they write underneath about that process. So there's lots and lots of uses for this to tie in with your literacy. It doesn't just have to be fictional storybooks, that kind of thing. Okay, and then at the top of our page, we've got that record function, so we can record some audio that goes with it. That's really good if maybe you've got students that struggle to get their written language down, thinking in particular students with dyslexia, where maybe their writing's not matching up to what you know is their knowledge. So they could record their understanding. Maybe they've written a story in their head and they could have a recording, an audio recording of the story. And as I said, that is an audio recording per page now, not just for the one file. So that's really helpful. And you can add as many pages as you want. So this could be a theme book. So if you're doing a topic this term, the students could create that topic book and add a page with each lesson and then have a nice big chunky file at the end, as opposed to having, 10 or 15 files within their My Files that can get a bit bogged down. And saving in Mix, you click the little orange floppy disk. Oh, wait a second, there we go. And we've got the saving circle. There's also, if anybody's using Journal, so Journal's our new tool. I'm not going to showcase Journal, but there is a webinar. So this publishes to a sort of a feed of best pieces of digital work. You can share that with parents via the parent portal so they can see all the work that's going on. So there is a publish to journal button, so you can click that and that will publish a journal entry. So that's worth thinking about if you are starting to use just2easy quite broadly across school. That might be a next step focus for you as a school. Then just to highlight, we do offer QR codes. So from your My Files or from a pupil file, this works in both areas. So I'm going to find that Jit mix. So if I open up my My Files, anything you save saves into your My Files area. So this is like your OneDrive, Google Drive. It is a cloud-based storage area. So you can see there's that mix that I created. There's that horrendous paint that we've just pretended didn't happen. You can see there's my presentation for this afternoon. I've got various Titanic presentations. So I can hover over a piece of work. So imagine this was a mixed document that I've done over a sort of half term and lots of literacy evidence in there. Now, you can't print that out. Well, I mean, you could print that out, but it's going to take up A, a lot of colour printing, B, a lot of time, blood, sweat and tears, and all the rest of it. So what you can do instead is you can hover over this piece of work, click on the green eye, and we've got this option to generate QR code. Okay, so this generates, it is by default view only, which I would recommend you keep, but this is a printable QR code. So what it means is somebody can come up to this QR code, they can scan it using a digital device. Generally, if it's, I think something like a smartphone or an iPad, you just open up the camera app and then you click, you scan this, you click on the little link that comes up, and that will take you to this file. Now, what I will say is, if you're having this as a digital sort of, maybe on a digital display board, on your display board in your classroom or in a literacy book, you will want to click this button that says publish. So what that will do is it doesn't publish it anywhere. It's really badly named. It removes the requirement to have a login to access this file. Okay, so as long as there's no student images that shouldn't be in there, as long as you're just mindful about, things like names, then you can click that. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to open up my camera app. I'm going to scan this just to show you what it looks like on my smartphone. And there, hopefully you can see that is that ebook and it's in view. I'm going to see if it will move to the next page. There we go. And there is that animation that is playing live. Okay, so that is what that will look like. So as I said, that's a great way of using digital devices and then not having to print things out. You could print this out, put it on into a literacy book, into a science book, into a newsletter. So that's just an alternative to the good old printing method, which I know some schools is still a requirement. So that will work in My Files and Pupil Files. So this is my pupil file, class 1, Lottie's in my class. So it could be, she's got this audio of her storytelling, so I can do that. I can QR code to that. It could be this winter pictogram that's actually a mixed document, so I could QR code to that. Okay, so that's a really handy, nifty little trick. Okay, now we're going to move on to J2 Create, which would be, if I was back in school, would be my go-to with Key Stage 2 students, because it's a really robust and versatile tool. Whenever I describe it, I always say it's like the best bits of Publisher, Word and PowerPoint all in the one tool. Now, it used to be called J2E5. So for those of you who think that it's a brand new tool, it's not. It's just got a sensible name now, because I think nobody knew what J2E5 was. So J2 Create is much better named. It's all about creating things. So this is just an example of a non-chronological report, I think. I don't think it is actually. Maybe it is. So we've got some images that we've added in. We've got some text, some facts that they've researched and added in. This is a stamp that they created in Jit Paint and the animation. So this is the live lesson that I did a few weeks ago. So that is on our YouTube channel. If you are doing a Titanic theme, I would highly recommend you have a look at that live lesson. So let's have a look at creating things in J2 Create. So J2 Create is here. It has a portrait page. So there you go. It has tools along the top, text tools along the right, and then page tools along the bottom. Okay, so we can do things like, I'm just going to zoom in just so you can see, change our page orientation. So you can go from landscape to portrait. Okay, so that in itself is quite handy because obviously you're going to use different page orientations for different projects. So for a poster, you'd use obviously portrait, and presentations landscape. You can change the color, so we can click here and then we have our colors along the right hand side of my page. Now this ties in nicely with sort of an accessibility consideration. You can enable children to manage this themselves. So I'm thinking again, in particular, children with dyslexia who find reading black and white very difficult. You could show them how to do this and then they can manage it themselves. So if they find a yellow page easier to read, or a pink page or a blue page, they can do that themselves without highlighting themselves as being different. So that is a consideration. There's also paper backgrounds. I mean, I don't like them personally, but the kids do, and lots of teachers do. It's just my personal preference. So there are lots of different sort of patterned backgrounds. Just be aware, once you've added a paper background, to get rid of it, you just need to click on that white box at the top and that will take you back to your colour. Now what we can do is we can click anywhere on the page, so it's open formatting. You don't have to click in a specific box. I'm going to stick with my Titanic theme. We can double click on that text and use these blue boxes to make that bigger or smaller. You've got your fonts over here, so we can change things like our fonts. I mean, that's a bit creepy. That was the wrong one. There we go. And there's lots more fonts at the bottom. So there's, I think it's 17, there we go, 1700 fonts. They can choose different variations of things. Oh, that's nice. Variations of font. They can change the color of their text. They can add a border, they can align it. So this is a really nice step up from Jit Paint and Jit Mix. It's got a lot more functionality in it. The other thing that it's got, if I double click on this text again, and this little speech bubble up here is our text to speech. So hopefully that came through my headphones. So it will say anything that's highlighted. So we could say Titanic was built in 1912, I want to say, by the White Star Line. There we go. And again, I can double click and I can listen to that speech. And it's going to read it back to me. So really great for children building up that resilience and independence, be able to reflect back on their own work. And then lastly, the little wee green man, as Mary calls him, that is for adding in photos. So you can add photos directly in, so you can take photos. You can choose external files if you wanted to. So if they're on your school server, for example, the children can import them. We've also got the little globe button, so let's hope and pray this is working better than Jit Paint. There we go. So I've got some images. I can drag those onto the page. And there we go. Okay, I can click and I can make those bigger. I can crop them within the file and move them about. Okay, and I did say that was lastly, but we've also got this little button here with the record audio function. So that helps the children to record some audio onto their presentation. So that is the basics of a one-page presentation. So changing page color, adding text, changing text size and font, adding images, and there's also shapes if required. Now expanding that a little bit, I'm going to show you embedding videos for stimulus. So this is now, as opposed to the children creating their own content, this is now more you creating activities for the students to do. So I'm going to show you how, and this is quite high level. So this may be above some people's head, in which case, don't worry, I won't spend very long on it. This is looking at embedding videos from an external source. So I have a lovely video on the C2K Media Library, which I just think is such a fantastic resource. There's so many amazing videos, and this is one in particular. This is called Disney Pixar Lou. It's a lovely little short film. It's only 6 minutes long. It's all to do with poetic justice being served on a bully. So it's got lots of cross-curricular ties in there, you know, thinking about emotional well-being, bullying, or not bullying, should I say, what poetic justice is. So there's lots of ties. And I've already created the beginnings of a worksheet. So I've added in some questions. So these are just text, and I've added in a square box. I've changed the page color. So those are already in there. So what I want to do is I want to add in this video that I've got here. Okay. And what I can do, I've opened up the video in, this could be YouTube, this could be the C2K Media Library, this could be Vimeo, whatever it is. And you just have to click the share button, and then you find the share by embedding. So this, as I said, works exactly the same on YouTube. So I'm going to share by embedding. I have to ignore that I'm using Mary's credentials. I knew it would log me out before I started the session. There we go. And then I'm going to grab this embed code, okay, which sounds a lot more fancy than it is. So we just right click and copy, okay. And then I go back to my worksheet, and at this point I click here, and I've got this video sound embed. And I'm just going to paste that in there. There is a video on how to do this on YouTube, by the way. And then click OK, and that is going to give me a nice little window into this video, and I can sort of play this. So that is now ready to go. So I can save this. So you would save, let's change the name, save. And I can share with my students. So to do that, I click on this little two-person thing. I can do this through my files as well. So you click on the little green eye and go to share. It brings up exactly the same box. And then I can use my drop-down menu and share with my class. So they now have access to that. Now I could add in a word list if I want. So word lists are here, the W button, and I click new. And again, I need to share that with my class, but you can allow them to access that. Let's move that up a little bit. But the students to have a go at that. So this is Lottie again, she's in my class. To access that document, she goes to shared files. She goes to class 1, and there is that Disney Pixar Lou questions. So what she will be able to do is press play. She can watch that film, so you're not having to rely on her going somewhere else to watch that film to then answer questions. Then when she's ready, so once she's watched that, then she can go to edit, and she can start writing in this box. So she can say poetic justice is, okay, and then she clicks save. And that's going to save a copy into her My File, so her edited version, so you can then mark that as a teacher. So that is accessible in the pupil files area. So from my Launchpad, you've got pupil files. Again, Lottie's in my class 1. Now another little trick, because sometimes you don't know when a student has saved something and you want to keep an eye on what's going on in your class, you can click into Lottie, but that's because I know Lottie's created something. But what I can do is I can tick this box that says list files. That is going to show me all of the content as it comes in, as it's been saved. So there's Lottie, there's that Disney Pixar Lou questions. As I scroll down, you can see Harry's created some things. I can see Lottie's mom has uploaded something. So that will give you more of a general overview of what's going on in your class, as opposed to having to click into all 30 children's accounts to sort of see if anything's changed. And there you can see poetic justice. I can see what she's written. So that's just a nice way of you creating activities for the students to do, sharing it, and then how you would capture that back as well. Okay, so lots of uses for that, lots of cross-curricular uses. Now I'm going to move on, but I am going to highlight that J2 Create because I feel like I've done it to death now. May well be losing the will to live out there. You can create multi-page hyperlinking presentations as well. It's not just one page. So you can, change things, page color, add text, hyperlink objects. And then that is a live lesson. So we do that as a live lesson. So the solar system, each of these stars, if I just show you, they can click on Earth and that's going to hyperlink to an Earth page. And then they've got this hyperlinked little button here and they can hyperlink to Jupiter. Okay, so this is something, well, this is something I've created, but in the live lesson, this is something that the children will be able to create themselves. So if you are working with sort of P6 or 7 and they are looking at space, that is definitely one to look for. So yeah. J2 Create, again, it's great for creating creative writing prompts so you can combine imagery. So this is I've just searched for a girl and angel wings and I've layered them one on top of the other and then added some text underneath, saved it and shared it with my students. So this is already in the library. So if you like the look of something like this, that is in there, but you can create your own writing prompt worksheets, like how we've just done with embedding that sort of video. Then some other ideas for J2 Create, some shape poetry, and this we did this morning as a shape poem. So adding in text, rotating it and manipulating it. So that is in there in the live lessons recordings. And this Poppy's one, which is a couple of weeks too late, but that is in the library as an example activity. Now I'm going to talk about J2 PDF and importing existing worksheets, and then I'm going to do a resource library showcase just to show you what activities are out there. So J2 PDF is really handy for those worksheets that you've already got. Now I can hand on heart probably say all of you have got at least 100 PDFs on a hard drive or a cloud-based system somewhere that you open, you print out, the kids complete, they stick in their books. So this is the digital version of this. So it might save you on a printing cost, might save you on being at the photocopier first thing in the morning or in the evening printing out and waiting for 300 sheets to arrive. So what we can do in J2 PDF, here we go, is we can drop a PDF file in here, and I've already got one loaded in my downloads file. So this is my hard drive on my computer. I've got a sports day word search that I want to use. Okay, so as long as it's a PDF, this will work. So I'm going to drag that PDF onto here, and it's very cleverly going to stitch that PDF as a background onto a page. Now I'm not going to scroll down too far because this is from a teacher document sharing site, which I'm sure a lot of you probably use. So this is a word search. So I can save this sports day word search. Okay, and I click save. Now I can, if I want to, before saving, I should have put this, you can add some instructions. Okay, so I could write some instructions. I could add some audio instructions. So here we go. Can you complete the sports day word search? Use the line or rectangle drawing tool to circle the words. There we go, and I can add that there. And I need to save that onto the page. There we go. And then I can share that the same as we just did with our embedded video worksheet. So I would share that with my class. And then once they open this, they can. So let's look for fun, or let's look for a word of some description. I should maybe have. There we go. I found one. So I can use this rectangle and I can highlight the spectator word. And there we go. So the children can go through that list, completing that word search. So that's just an example of a PDF that's used quite well with things like SATs revision papers. If you've got reading comprehensions work really well. Just any sort of PDF worksheet works pretty well. Okay, so that is an idea, should you wish to use it. Right, we're going to talk about the library now. So some of you may be brand new to the library, so I'm sorry if some of you aren't. But this is just to highlight some of the fantastic resources that we've got in there. So these are SPAG-based resources. So this is Autumn Leaves Are, and the idea is that the children use these verbs to add onto the autumn leaves and to add in some leaf stamping, okay? And that is using Jit Paint. Now, this is the library here. It can be found at the top of your launch pad if you don't know where it is. It's right there. It does get missed quite often. Just be aware this isn't available in Wales, I'm afraid. Sorry if I've got any Welsh colleagues out there. If you like a resource and you want to come back to it, just click on that star button and that will save into your liked resources area. Now, if you want your children to have a go at this activity, you need to share it or set it as homework. So one or the other will work. Homework, if you're using J2 Homework, that will pre-populate a homework entry. Or the share button. So if I click share, if I find my class in the classes list, you can share with individual users as well. So again, that ties into that personalized learning environment, differentiated tasks, that kind of thing. And then I click OK. And that is shared. So students will only have access to resources that have been shared by a teacher. So they would then open up the library. There is that task that's been hand selected, and you can see these are the other tasks that I've set as activities. Lottie can have a go, so she can open this up. This is, as I said, in Jit Paint. So she can look for, let's just go for a maple leaf, see what comes up. Here we go. Come on, Jit Paint. Come on. Oh. Okay, let's go for some text instead. So I'm going to go for falling as an adjective. So I can write that. I can change the color of it. Let's go for orange, and I can add that. I can rotate it and add that onto my page. And then when she's done, she just clicks save, and that's going to save a copy into her My Files. And I, as a teacher, can see that in Pupil Files. So that is just how you can create content, share content from the library ready for students to have a go. So we've got rules for writing speech. This is another similar using adjectives this time instead of verbs. So that is based around the Great Famine. And we've got antonyms. I'm sure we've got some synonyms in there. We've got planning for writing, so writing frame. So I've got a mind mapping activity, a writing frame for an advert, story arc, and I'm pretty sure there's a 3 and a 5 point story arc, or is it a 5 and a 7? One or the other. So those are in there as well. So great for those sort of planning activities. We've got our story mountain, so beginning, build up, problem, resolution, ending. So that's great if you're doing maybe filmmaking or animation as well. So that ties in nicely. An adventure plan. This one's quite nice. So if you are doing anything about the Blitz, so children in World War II, so fact sheets, so having to research things, there's a fact sheet in there for the children to read. So they don't have to go anywhere else. They can read that fact sheet. And then they can open up their planning sheet and start adding content, you know, sort of mind mapping things out. They can click anywhere. They can add images in. So that's a nice little activity. I'm not just saying that because I made it. Well, I am. Then other things that we've got, creative writing activities. There's loads of creative writing. Again, I did a huge amount of Blitz resources over the summer. So there's a Dear Diary for writing as a 10-year-old child living in London. So they can write that. Designing a chocolate bar for Willy Wonka, witch's potion, other things. We've got descriptive writing, so creating a character, you know, planning that out. We've got lots of these descriptive writing activities. So from our libraries, this is descriptive writing beach sunset. If you search from the community, look forward to descriptive. Here we go. Charlie's created a huge amount of these. Beach sunset, waterfall, nativity is in there. Mountains, Christmas Eve. So there's lots of these descriptive writing ones, and these quick writes as well. So three things you're proud of and one you'd do differently. So these are nice. Ties in with thinking about writing and reflection and that kind of thing. And then more blitz activities. Then we've got factual writing. So this is quite a popular resource. Animals of the rainforest. So planning out and researching animals, the habitat or layer that they live in, and interesting facts. So that ties in nicely if you're doing a research project. Spider fact file, the workhouse. So this is again reading, so comprehension, and then summarizing, so adding it into these speech bubbles. Book reviews, there's lots and lots of different formats for book reviews. So things are going to recommending a book, they can drag these, they can circle the book genre and why they'd recommend it. Reviews, various book reviews there. And writing frames, I think this is the last page. So we've got a newspaper template. That is probably one of our most popular activities. So nice cross-curricular links. You can link that into any sort of topic, really. They can add in pictures that they've made in Jit and exported. That's why I showed it. And facts. This is actually facts. This is tied into a Titanic project. Okay, so the writing frame is in there, but you can use that as a sort of standalone fact writing frame if you wanted to. It doesn't just have to be linked to the Titanic, but that is in there. And this is a writing a letter frame. Oh, I lied. Sorry. One last page. Reflecting on me. So this is nice. Sort of self-reflection writing activity, and then 2 all about me activities. There's one sort of on a phone and one standalone. So those are all in there. So thank you ever so much for listening. Clearly I haven't updated this. It's the one page that I haven't updated. We're on X, formerly known as Twitter, just2easy_com. We're on Facebook as well, so just2easy. We've also got a just2easy teachers group. It's called just2easy teachers, where we're promoting lots of different things, lesson plans, activity ideas, that sort of thing. And as I showed you earlier, we do have a YouTube channel, so just2easy TV. Feel free to give us a like or a subscribe. So hopefully that has been of some help or interest, at least maybe 1 or 2 activities. I am going to offer the, I'm not sure my chat's working because it's very quiet. Either that or you guys are just very quiet. So I'm going to ask if there's any questions. If not, thank you ever so much for giving up your precious time. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you for another webinar soon. So thank you.